everyone. Today we're going to talk about angels and the angels that I can talk very extensively on in heaven, having experienced at the moment of my enlightenment, heaven, and the many wonders of heaven. Yes. So when I experienced heaven, I didn't only experience heaven in the moment, experience heaven in the past, things that happened there. So heaven had its difficulties as well. It seems that everybody does. No one's perfect, and I'm happy to say that most of those have been resolved, and that things are great at that point, and now in heaven. A little bit about heaven. We this video is actually on a subject I want to talk about angels in heaven. Okay, so I'm going to be talking a little bit about that, and then referring that to descriptions we have in history. Okay, so angels in heaven. One of the components of my soul, three components to my soul, which made, including the final product, if you will. One of those components was an archangel. The archangel Raphael. So at that point in heaven, experienced many, many things, including there was a terrible conflict in heaven between two sides of angels and inhabitants of heaven. It was very, very terrible, and luckily that came to an end. There was a conflict between a red flag and a blue flag, and that conflict came to an end. It seems almost similar to colors of flags of countries we have little tensions with right now, and there's no coincidence to that as well. And at that point, what happened is the black came in, the black flag, the flag of knowledge of God, basically, and that brought everyone together, and everybody forgave each other. And it was very difficult, and it was very emotional, and that's how things are. Okay, so heaven's great. So in heaven, there's different levels of heaven. Picture an elevator, very high tech, advanced elevator, if you will, that can bring you to different levels of heaven. When I'm talking levels, this elevator brings you to a level. You're talking buildings on levels and stuff like that, right? It's not one building. It's talk like worlds. It brings you from one world to another of heaven, basically. The top one is the one where you have the Colosseum, if you will, or the church, or the temple, or whatever you want to call it, where the angels sing together in a choir, all in it goes up. There's a seating, basically, so the whole choir of angels, and into it is the procession where the cross is brought in. The cross has two horizontal bars, in this case in heaven, and it's preceded by the angels, and there's the hierarchy and all that. So the angels are great. Angels are really awesome. You have some that are very different types of angels, like humans, like every species. Some that are more fierce, some that are more timid. But all very, very, very nice people. As I said, no one's perfect, but we all do our best to be good people. And I'm happy to say that there are so many good people everywhere, both in heaven and before getting to heaven. Okay, so the angels. Okay, so what do we look at when we look at an angel? Angels are different. Okay, I actually, as an angel, went around in a kind of a long coat with a hood, basically. Did I have wings? No wings. Okay, so angels don't have wings. The only being you could say that in heaven, as far as angels go there, or at that level, which have wings, is actually the griffin, if you want, or it's basically it's an animal with wings, if you will, a being with wings that sits on top of the pillar, which has basically a hose de vent on it, and that's basically the key to opening and closing the access to heaven. So that being basically a griffin, if you will, basically controls that and opens and closes the access to heaven from the top of that pillar. Okay, so that's the being that has the wings. Other angels, no wings. Extremely advanced technology, though. Very, 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 very advanced technology. We're talking, when there was conflict, going back to that, we're talking like laser weapons, and all these things with devastating effects. And picture battlefields that, heaven's huge, so picture battlefields that are just like one side that was just beyond sight and the other side beyond sight, and everybody falling on each other with weapons of superpower and all that, everybody with their armors and all these things. And it was horrible. And it makes us think, well, if the angels messed up like that, we messed up, well, we got to forgive each other and do like the angels did. They reconciliated, they came back together, and not just the angels, all the people in heaven too. It was involved in these wars, so, right? Because we have the angels at one level, but then we have everybody, all the other levels, and everybody who's in heaven, okay? This is one sphere of heaven. Okay, an archangel can bridge the spheres. There are different spheres. There's also a Buddha sphere, where you have the Buddhas, okay, who in their level of heaven, if you will, in the Buddha sphere, okay, it's totally thing apart. And the Buddhas, they meditate, okay, in lowest position, meditate in the air, okay. Then we have also the sphere, what you could say basically, the sphere of Rudra in heaven also, where Rudra lives in his lodge with his attendants, right? So what I experienced is basically when I was experiencing that part of enlightenment, remembering basically the creation of my soul in heaven, okay? At that point, it was basically started off as Archangel Raphael with the other angels organizing this plan to get the Buddha, a Buddha, and to get Rudra or Shiva from that level of creation in heaven to enter a soul, and then basically that to enter my body, right? So that's how I know that angels, to get back to the principal question of this, do not have wings, okay? When we're talking about creatures that have wings, however, there are some creatures that do have wings, okay? And they're not necessarily what you would call the most positive of beings. One of the creatures that does have wings is fairies with wings. Okay, so we've talked about the fairy kingdom in one of my other videos, or a couple of them. Fairies, the ones that basically put that that veil, that gray wool veil over our eyes. In the story, at the existence of the Loka of the fairy kingdom. Okay, so those have wings, and because they have wings, they can fly up behind you without you seeing them, and they can put that over your eyes, right? And that's one of the reasons why we don't see and experience all the knowledge that instantaneously that we have, for example, when we're experiencing enlightenment and taking that veil off at the level of the fairy kingdom, slipping it off basically, and having everything happen at the same time. Okay, so angels, no wings. The fairies, wings. Okay, what do angels do? Angels are great. Angels are great. What do people do in heaven? It's great. I want to talk a little bit about that. Heaven is really, imagine the summum of technology. We have the potential of what we can achieve with technology, and that potential has basically been like even surpassed at the level of heaven. So it's like everything is amazing. There's room for everyone. Everything's perfect. There's no problems, no issues. It's like it's a perfect existence, right? Everybody, I won't get too much into it. And then there's different places too, right? There's different lokas, all these things. I was referring. Well, let's just say I was referring to them all. All of them have their charms, right? All the different places you can go. So heaven is really great. And let's put a serious note on this too. Hell's not. I've also experienced hell and seen hell, and I can tell you, I've listened to the cries of people in hell through my TV screen, basically. As I experienced being, being Shiva and Vishnu. Okay, so all that to say, angels, no wings, but the creature that sits atop the pillar, which is the key to opening up and closing heaven, does have wings, the griffin, right? I'm having such fond memories right now, just remembering interactions I had with different angels and different people. And I've talked also about how before embarking on my mission, so entering the soul basically as the Archangel Raphael, I went to one of the levels of heaven and went to meet the body, if you will, of Jesus, right? Because when you're in heaven, you have a body. You know, your body is there. It comes with you in an ideal way, if you want. Basically, so I had a wonderful conversation with him, and he told me too. He said, good luck, because where you're going, it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a tough run, right? So and it's been tough, when you're really pushing yourself spiritually, and when you're really doing such a thing such as enacting your enlightenment. It's really definitely an experience that's not always an easy one, but definitely a rewarding one. And it's a great pleasure to be able to share these things, such as the fact that angels don't have wings, right, to everybody. But they do have wonderful, wonderful, let's say a wonderful view of the divine light of God when it descends into the Colosseum, if you will, into the church from above when they sing to it. And that's really a wonderful thing to experience. And I really recommend going there and not going to the bad place of hell. So be a good person. Don't do horrible things. If you have a choice for war, say no war. If you have to defend yourself, defend yourself. Never attack anyone. Never be the aggressor. If you ever find out that you are the aggressor, take a step back. Stop being the aggressor. Make amends for your mistakes. Always be a good person. And hopefully soon, one day, you'll be able to, have conversations with Jesus yourself in heaven. And don't be in a rush to get there either, because we can turn this world that we live into a heaven as well. And I think that's the point, right? They've already fixed all the problems in heaven. Now they're working on fixing the problems here. So we've got some help, here and there. And I think the point is that we can do it ourselves. And then we can basically, wherever we go, as part of our story, wherever we go, we turn that world into a paradise, and we live in it as a paradise. Okay, so thanks everyone. Thanks for listening to this talk about angels.